US President Donald Trump isn't just doubling down, he's now tripling down on his claim that $21 million was set aside from USAID funds to increase voter turnout in India. But his third consecutive speech in a row had the opposition also asking questions of the government because Trump made a throwaway remark about these $21 million going to quote unquote his friend Prime Minister Modi. I'm Barkha. You're with the Mojo Story. Is President Donald Trump taking India's trip? How difficult can it be for either the government of India or the Trump administration to basically be specific and clear and detailed about who or which entity received or was to receive $21 million from USAID funds to supposedly increase voter turnout in India? As a matter of record, more voters voted in India than in the US elections, and more money was spent in the Indian elections than in the US elections. That said, when the world's most powerful man makes this allegation, you cannot ignore it. Despite the Indian Express making the argument that Trump had possibly confused Bangladesh with India, the BJP says that's fake news. And Trump, as I said, hasn't just doubled down, he's tripled down on his allegation. In fact, he's made a separate allegation about the amount of money that went to a foundation that was working in Bangladesh to change, quote unquote, the political landscape. He has detailed the amount of money that was set aside for different countries: $21 million for India, $29 million for Bangladesh, and $19 million for Nepal. The Foreign Ministry in India has called the allegations deeply concerning. They have said that the relevant agencies will be investigating. But after Trump's statement today, which actually used the phrase, my friend Prime Minister Modi, it's the opposition that is saying, why is the BJP now silent? Till yesterday, it is the BJP who was accusing the opposition of being linked to foundations like Open Society, led by George Soros, which in turn are linked to USAID. An old MOU signed between the Election Commission and an entity that was working on training has also come into focus, even though former Chief Election Commissioner S.Y. Qureshi has said that there was no financial transaction involved. What's going on? Donald Trump says nobody knows what's going on there. And I think that's the one statement of his that we'd have to agree with. Let me introduce our panel today as we try and decode this mystery that Trump has presented before India. Suhasini Haidar, senior journalist, diplomatic editor of The Hindu, is with us. Good to see you, Suhasini. Sanjay Jha, political analyst, former Congress spokesperson, is with us. Good to see you, Sanjay. Also joining us is Rajiv Pandey, who's a senior BJP leader and spokesperson for the party. Namaskar and good to see you, Rajiv ji. Zainab Sikandar, political analyst, supporter of the RLD, is with us. Zainab, good to see you. And also joining us is veteran diplomat, Ambassador Dilip Sinha. Good to have you with us, sir. Let me play out the clip of Donald Trump. It's his third statement in a row. BJP's Amit Malviya even went on social media network X to say, look, this is how serious the American president is. But then Trump, being Trump, made a kind of peculiar choice of words in his framing of the allegation today. Take a look.
$21 million going to my friend, Prime Minister Modi in India, for voter turnout. We're giving $21 million for voter turnout in India. What about us? I want voter turnout too, Governor. $29 million to strengthen the political landscape in Bangladesh. Went to a firm that nobody ever heard of. Got $29 million. They got a check. Can you imagine? You have a little firm, you get 10,000 here, 10,000 there. And then we get $29 million from the United States government. There are two people working in that firm. Two people. I think they're very happy. They're very rich. They'll be on the cover of a very good business magazine pretty soon.
Now, what's important is not just that President Trump referenced his friend Prime Minister Modi, but also that he makes a clear distinction between money allotted for Bangladesh and for India. Ambassador Sinha, I'll start with you. I think the question is, do we take Trump literally? We have to take him seriously because he is the American president, but do we take him literally? What's going on here?
Well, my feeling is that Trump is right now focusing entirely on internal politics, his domestic politics. I've heard some of his speeches. His primary concern seems to be to undermine his predecessor, Joe Biden. He constantly makes fun of him. And he's also trying to show that he's the greatest president ever. At least among the Republicans, he's had the largest number of votes, electoral votes in a long, long time, probably ever. And his aim is to say that America before him was throwing away money. He's talked about this person who's become rich. So it's not so much India, Bangladesh, or Nepal that he's targeting. He's targeting his opposition, saying that they have been throwing away money, wasting money, and there's a lot of fraud taking place, money going to the wrong hands in the US, not so much in India and these countries. That's the way I read it, because he has not yet given any details. And now, 2 days ago, the Indian Express gave a report saying that they had gone through the reports of Doge and the CEPPS, and they couldn't find evidence of this $21 million coming to India. They thought it was going to Bangladesh. Now, after that report, at least someone should have come out with a clarification: where has this money gone to, and who is it gone to? Meanwhile, we've had an MEA statement that they're deeply concerned or deeply disturbed about this. But nobody seems to have come out with any information other than what Donald Trump seems to be talking about, essentially focusing on his opponents in the US.
But isn't that curious? Just briefly, Ambassador, before I open it up, if this has gone to a US entity, for instance, there is a LinkedIn post available for everybody to see, where a USAID official talks about the entity that received money called the NDI that isn't even based in Bangladesh. And he says that this entity received 21 million. Trump says that it's an entity that received 29 million, right? The reason I'm pointing this out is it shouldn't be complicated for either the Trump administration, if this money was allotted to an American entity, like in the case with Bangladesh, or for the government of India, if it was allotted for an Indian entity and actually received, to find this out. How difficult could it be?
Well, it is for the Americans first to explain whom did they give the money to. Now, as Donald Trump himself says, this money has been actually being given to American organizations, and that too probably fraudulent organizations. That's what Trump is trying to make out, that these are all essentially not only waste of money, but fraudulent use of money, because money may not even have reached either Bangladesh, India, or Nepal.
Yes, so so you're saying the onus is on the US administration. Before I come to the politics of this, Suhasini, as a veteran who's been tracking geopolitics for ages, the MEA has made a very circumspect statement. They've not gone all political like the BJP and the opposition, and that's correct. And they've said that these are concerning allegations. We need to investigate them. But I still think that it's kind of commonsensical that if this money has actually been received by an entity in India, the income tax surely can find out. If this money has gone to an American entity, then the Trump administration can find out, right? Either way, this cannot be an Agatha Christie murder mystery. It shouldn't be difficult to find out. And the Indian Express argued in a front page piece that Trump had mixed up Bangladesh with India. And the BJP has said that's fake news. Trump goes on repeating the money allotted for different countries, and he makes a distinction between the money given to Bangladesh and to India. So I'm not very sure that anybody actually knows, A, was this money actually paid? B, if it was paid, who was it given to?
Correct. And in fact, I'm actually surprised you call the MEA statement circumspect. I think I'm actually surprised that the MEA jumped the gun here and said it was deeply troubled by the allegations, simply because we don't even know what the allegations are. As far as what we have in the public sphere, Barkha, there is one tweet. That is a tweet put out by Doge itself, the Department of Government Efficiency run by Elon Musk in the US. That has a list of figures that were supposedly committed. These are what are called obligations, not dispersals, by the US Agency for International Development, which is USAID. Now, according to that tweet, it says, you just have to go and read the wording. It says very clearly, this money was to have gone for the following and has been cancelled. So it may be part of a larger tranche, it may be a regular tranche, it may be a regular thing, but we don't actually have public knowledge that this money was ever disbursed. So the first storm in the teacup that has come up is that we don't know whether any money actually.
I agree with you, and sorry to interrupt you, but just to say why I called the MEA statement circumspect, I'm comparing it to the full-blown political war that is raging between the BJP and the opposition. My question, I agree. My question to you is, would you have had the MEA ignore 3 consecutive statements by the American president?
I would have the MEA say that we are looking into the allegations made by the US president and leave it at that. But to say that they are deeply troubled, what are they going to do now? The US president has supposedly today said that the money went to my friend Prime Minister Modi. Are they going to find that deeply troubling as well? So my point is, you have to go step by step. India can't allow itself to become part of what Ambassador Sinha quite rightly says is a political debate inside the US. Mr. Trump is trying to show his predecessors down. And unfortunately, our political parties are busy fighting with each other instead of saying, I'm sorry, this shows the United States as a particularly unpredictable, undependable partner at this time. We need to just take a step back and let them sort out whatever they're doing and not get involved in it. Instead, what we've seen is the slugfest between, press conferences by national parties. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. The second thing that I would like to say, Barkha, is please go through just the MEA records. Okay, the DOGE has now taken down the USAID's own website. Also, the website of CEPPS, or any of the other the firms, the organizations that are supposed to have taken some of the money from USAID. Those are just funding agencies. But look at the MEA's own website and go through it year by year, joint statement by joint statement between India and the US. Even if you don't want to go really far back, start at 2010, 2012, 2015, 2017, 2020, even when Mr. Trump was last in power. 2023, there are mentions of MOUs with USAID. USAID has pledged money for HPV vaccines in India. Do we really need that kind of money? Can India not afford to vaccinate its own girls? Those questions could be asked. But the fact is that USAID has had partnerships. It funded IIT Gandhinagar, for example. It has an MOU with the Ministry of Agriculture for agricultural training, Department of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Health for tuberculosis and HIV projects, the Prime Minister's 500 Cities National Urban Development Mission and Clean India campaign. What I'm trying to say here is let Mr. Trump discredit his agency for all we care. As far as we are concerned, the United States, a sovereign government, entered into agreements with the Indian government, said, we are going to give you this money.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, well, now that you've frozen the foreign funding, what does this mean for us? What does this mean for India's neighbors who really were dependent on a lot of this money coming in? Here we are sitting and fighting about who got some $21 million. We don't even know if it actually got disbursed, and whether it was meant for elections. I mean, are our elections so weak, and is our democracy so weak that we are going to be subverted by a 21 million deposit?
Okay, the images on our screen, as Suhasini mentioned, is FM Jaishankar previously meeting with the representative of USAID. Smriti Irani has been documented as having associated with programs that were backed by USAID. Ambassador Sinha, very quickly, I do want to get the others in. I think the point Suhasini makes is MEA jumped the gun. The phrase deeply troubling did not need to have been attached to simply saying that we are investigating. And they did say it's premature to say more, but they said the allegations are deeply troubling. Did you find that to be unnecessary? And B, how does India walk back with the fact that they've done business with the same USAID that is today considered, a kind of sinful element of an ecosystem that the Trump administration doesn't like? Very quickly, Ambassador Sinha, I want to bring the others in.
Well, I'm troubled by the use of the word allegation. An allegation is a word that you use when there is a payback or a bribing given somewhere.
I mean, he called them kickback. He called them kickbacks. Trump called them kickbacks.
Well, I don't know why. Why should he call them a kickback? After USAID was at least a legitimate organization. It had an office in India. It's not a terrorist organization. It doesn't fund operations in India secretly. It signs MOUs with the Indian government, and it carries out activities in India. Now, in the course of these activities, some of these monies may have been plowed back into the US. That becomes a kickback for the US company, not for the government of India here. So right. I'm told that they use the word allegation here. But otherwise, actually, unless you can prove that the money was given to an individual, a candidate or a political party, then it will become an allegation or a serious matter. Otherwise, if it was spent for activities like conference or seminars, it's perfectly okay. The US has been doing it and we allowed it to do it. That's fine.
Let me bring in Rajiv Pandey of the BJP now, and then Sanjay Jha and Zainab in that order. Rajiv ji, the question is this: is the joke on us? You know, it seems to be almost as if Trump is yanking our chain, and we are letting the chain be yanked because we just don't have enough facts. And without those facts, it is very difficult to formulate a reasonable response.
Barkha, I completely agree that until everything is unearthed, what is the real facts, we cannot comment that what has actually happened. But the issue is, Barkha, we'll have to find out two, three things. Now, President Trump thrice has said that 21 million has gone to India. So India had no other option than to respond that we are looking into this. The issue is this USAID, what is their job? What they do? They spend money on various things like improving sanitation or health and care, but they are involved in other kind of activities also. Just when I got a call that I have to join you, I was just reading something that this organization has given $300,000 to one organization for countering religious violence in Myanmar, Indonesia, and India. Second, 385,000 for Muslim in India in a time of Hindu majoritarianism. I don't know what for what is the situation in America for the minority and for the black, for the woman. But they are doing this. So just giving clean chit to them. I am not saying what has actually happened. And the larger question is that yesterday a very big leading English newspaper has written an article, published an article written by some Majumdar who is himself having a different kind of character. I don't want to.
No. Let's not get into a journalist character. Let's leave, Mr.
Yes.
Let's not personalize this conversation.
Correct,
We
correct.
did invite.
Barkha,
I would like to say I did invite Mr. Majumdar to join this debate. He declined that invitation, but let's not be personal about our colleagues in the media fraternity. Yes, go ahead.
I am not. I am a lawyer. There are many lawyers who are committing wrong things. If you talk about
let's stick on the issue.
By lawyers, I will not respond. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Why I'm taking the name of Indian Express, which has a rich history, but you can recollect before when the government, Manmohan Singh government was there, one journalist wrote that there was a coup. Army was moving towards Delhi. So this is the responsibility of the journalist also, Barkha. Indian Express, we have grown up while reading that newspaper, and we think that if something is published by Indian Express or something is coming on TV when you are reporting in it. So what I'm saying, that has created a lot of problems. I'm telling you, one, government has already said that we are going to look into the matter. And it is really disturbing if that is true, that $21 million has come to India to create problems in India. And now things are coming. Let this be investigated. I am saying, Barkha, I cannot comment what is the real facts, but let this be investigated, because this money has come, then it can be used for subversive activity, which has happened across the country by various group of people. So we'll have to find out that.
What we do agree, what at least I agree with you on, that there needs to be some investigation, some clarity, because otherwise this is, a lot of allegations and counter allegations flying almost wildly now. Before I come to Sanjay Jha, the BJP has not reacted officially today, but the Congress has after Trump's third statement. And I just want to play out that clip and then come to you, Sanjay. Take a look.
जी के दोस्त डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने कहा ये 21 मिलियन डॉलर हमने हमारे दोस्त नरेंद्र मोदी को दिया है। ये तो अब ट्रंप साहब की तो मुंह से एक एक जो शब्द निकलता है, पूरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी, पूरा इकोसिस्टम, एक चौथाई पत्रकार, सब उसको एकदम कुरान, बाइबल, गीता सब मान के उस पर शुरू हो जाते हैं। अब ट्रंप साहब कह रहे हैं मेरे दोस्त नरेंद्र मोदी को 21 मिलियन डॉलर दिए। सब चुप्पी है, सब तरफ सन्नाटा है, कोई कुछ बोल नहीं रहा। प्रधानमंत्री के जो एक आर्थिक सलाहकार पिछले 3-4 दिन से लगातार ट्वीट कर रहे थे, कोई सानियाल करके हैं, आज वो भी चुप है। एक और कोई आईटी सेल चलाता है, वो भी चुप है। हो क्या रहा है? क्यों चुप हो गए? ये सन्नाटा क्यों है? वो एक गाना था, दुश्मन न करे दोस्त ने वो काम किया है। आज मोदी जी के दोस्त ने वो काम करके दिखा दिया।
All right. BJP, should the BJP officially respond? Rajivji, are you trying to say something before I come to Sanjay?
Yes, yes. I want to
Yes.
say only one line before Sanjay ji comes.
Yes.
I just want to say, you should again hear that statement of Donald Trump. He's saying, "हमने मोदी जी को दिया." Donald Trump was not the prime minister at president at that time.
Yes, he's
It
saying
means USA
America.
ने India को दिया. This is a basic understanding.
Yes. Yes.
USA paid to Indian agents as per Donald Trump. I don't know. That may
Yeah.
be wrong. It may be right.
I
Only
think
I'm saying. So what is this? Is laughable. This is not worth even. This what they are talking about Modi ji. He's saying हमने दिया. हमने Donald Trump was nobody at that time. Thank you.
Okay, Sanjay Jha, I think there's a point there, and I do agree with Suhasini on this point that our political parties are squabbling like we know anything. We don't know. We don't know if this was an allotted disbursement that was stopped right at inception. We don't know if a portion of it was allotted and if it was to whom. We don't know if, as in the case of Bangladesh, where, by the way, it is documented, at least via a LinkedIn post, that, and I want to show that post again, that a USAID official talks about the National Democratic Institute at their headquarters in Washington receiving an amount of $21 million. So this is evidentiary value, right? We have no such evidentiary value in the Indian context. Yes, the Congress is enjoying Trump's referencing of Prime Minister Modi, but you don't really believe as an Indian that Trump gave this money to Prime Minister Modi, right? The point is that for 3 days, Trump has said, one day he's called it for voter turnout. The other day he's called it a kickback. Today he said it has gone to my friend Prime Minister Modi. So we need to conduct ourselves with more sobriety than Trump is showing at this point.
Barkha, good evening. I think let's understand the context of this conversation. I think personally, if you ask me, the entire political dialogue or the public discourse on the US aid is puerile, pedestrian, and pathetic. But it's important now that it's become a political hot potato to give it the kind of importance that the BJP has given it. Why has this issue become big? Right? Because the BJP wanted to exploit this US aid political funding as an external interference into India's democratic process, because that is the narrative of the Modi party and the Narendra Modi government, which is to make the entire opposition and every critic of this government look like a fifth columnist. What is the whole narrative of the BJP? The Rahul Gandhi, the Congress, the entire opposition is anti-national. So the BJP jumped the gun, and they, using their huge influence on big media, which is all the TV channels and large number of newspapers, they wanted to flood the conversation to say, you know what, the opposition took money from the United States and wanted to increase voter turnout to defeat Mr. Modi in 2024 elections. Now, unfortunately, and this is what happens, right? When you try to run a political campaign based on hollow rhetoric, it always boomerangs. And I'll tell you what has happened. Now that the president of America, inconsistent as he may be, in fact, the president himself spreads fake news. We know that. Elon Musk is doing it left, right, and center. Conspiracy theories are both hugely popular in America and in India. So it suits both of them to play the game in tandem. But now that, whether inadvertently or very consciously, now that President Trump has said that the money went to Mr. Modi or Mr. Modi's government, the explanation has to be given by Mr. Modi's government. As Suhasini rightly pointed out, I was stunned when the Ministry of External Affairs red flagged this entire political conversation. And I'm in politics, so I can tell you, rhetoric and hyperbole is par for the course. But now that the MEA has got involved and has explicitly said this is a very grave subject, now as a citizen of this country, I want to know the truth. Now, I've been a banker before. I've also worked with a couple of American firms. If the US government, because the USAID is part of the US government, if it funded, assuming it funded, the allocation is one thing, the funding is the other part. If it funded, whether in 2012 or right now in 2022-24, any entity in India as part of the USAID consortium of borrowers, it would be available on an electronic record with every bank. There is no way in heaven that if Mr. Modi's government and the MEA wants to know that if this money has come, who it has gone to finally, not just the bank, who who's the ultimate beneficiary, like you discovered in the case of Bangladesh, they can announce it tomorrow morning. They can do it by tomorrow afternoon on a Sunday. It's an electronic record. You can't fudge that. That's point number one. Point number two, and it's very important, as Suhasini rightly pointed out, in the last 4-5 years, the numbers are that 650 million has been given as aid by the USAID. Now, you can argue till the cows come home that America uses nation building to topple governments. Its whole, campaign of democratic consolidation in countries is got a political objective. We are not getting into the Afghanistan kind of a debate. The larger point here is that the Indian government, since the cows come home, has been taking money from the USAID because, well, it's very cheap aid. And that frankly makes sense. We took money for COVID vaccine. Narendra Modi's government took money for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Mr. Modi is a very flagship program. Why would you do it? So here is the point. I think, Barkha, we need to pay attention to this. That end of day, if there is an allegation made by the BJP that the opposition used this money of a higher voter turnout to abuse India's electoral system, I have two questions to ask. Why is this not been exposed already? In fact, you didn't need Donald Trump or the Doge to tell you that this money came to India and was used for an ulterior objective. Point number two, extremely important, that if you look at India's entire electoral system, you have electoral bonds which are called unconstitutional and corrupt. Then you have around, in every election, we spend around $8 billion in funding. Do you know what that value is, Barkha? That's 64,000 crores. 90% or 95% of that, let me wrap up, is black money. In that entire pack size of 64,200 crores, we are talking about 160 crores from the US aid that the opposition has used to destabilize India.
I get it. I get it, but is all of this a joke, Zainab Sikandar? I think the point is, it's almost like we're being played. We don't, without facts. This is just a game for Trump's. Trump is playing to his gallery. Have we as a nation walked into a Trump-set trap?
You took the words away from my mouth. The first thing that should be said about Donald Trump is that he's a mercurial man. He's absolutely unpredictable. So whenever he says anything, it doesn't have to be taken with a pinch of salt. It perhaps has to be taken with a tablespoon of salt, because he contradicts himself the very next day. And this is not the first time Trump has done this. So we have seen him making, huge faux pas when it comes to making huge geopolitical statements without any backing, without any documentation, without any evidence. So that's the first thing that needs to be said. I think the main point here is that Doge themselves have clarified that this allotment of money has been cancelled. So the fact to say that we have already given $21 million to India is anyway a wrong fact, in my opinion. Okay. Donald Trump, in his first statement, said that I need to let the Indian government know that we have given $21 million. That is where the whole suggestion was sort of, given, implied that, we gave it to the opposition because they wanted to destabilize you. That's what his first statement was. Now he's saying we've given it to Mr. Modi. I really believe that, picking this topic up was literally the biggest mistake BJP made, and then even Congress made, because this can go anywhere. In my opinion, this is my personal opinion, although I know I have huge stalwarts sitting in front of me and they differ. But I think MEA's statement was the most right statement in the given circumstance, because you can't deny that this is the US president making a statement that we've given $21 million for voter turnout. That is really, how the nationalists always say कि बाहर का यहाँ पर interference है हमारे देश में. This is a complete, it's an insult to our democracy. It's an insult to the very practice of elections that India has. So for that reason, I think it is of grave concern, and the MEA made the right statement. But political parties picking it up without any evidence, just but this is the usual slugfest that happens between Congress and BJP, because in my opinion now the opposition has lost all their goalposts. Whenever it comes to making any priorities, when it comes to attacking the Modi government, I think the opposition in total has been very flimsy, which is why they pick up any topic and then they don't back it up. I would love to see where Congress will go with this topic. I hope they go for months on and keep asking.
So you agree with I think me and Suhasini that both the BJP and the Congress are wading into a swamp where no
Yeah.
facts are available. Where no
I
facts are
think
available.
absolutely. The MEA, when it says it is of grave concern, I do think as an Indian citizen, it is of grave concern that if India is taking $21 million from a USAID just for voter turnout in India, that's shameful.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
is a good statement. But besides that, political parties taking it up every day as if like this is the be all and end all of the topic that India needs to discuss, it's sad and it's going to go nowhere.
Yeah, okay. Quick responses from Sanjay and Rajiv because I want to go back to Suhasini and Ambassador Sinha. Okay, Sanjay, you go first and then Rajiv ji. Yeah.
Yeah. Zainab, I can understand that your party is a political alliance partner of the BJP, but you are now caught on a very slippery
But she
slope.
criticized the
Donald
BJP
Trump.
too. She
No, no, one
criticized the
minute,
BJP too.
one minute.
Yeah.
This has got nothing to do with the Congress. If you on this channel were to make an accusation against me, all right, you called me a traitor or an anti-national. I have a right to defend myself. I'm going to prove to the world that you are an anti-national if you are an anti-national. And in this case, Zainab, you cannot cover up for Mr. Modi no matter how you try. Even Rajiv actually surrendered. Donald Trump has expressly said that the money was given to Mr. Modi, which means the Mr. Modi's government to which you are an alliance partner. You need to explain to the people of India as to why did you trigger the conversation calling the opposition and the Congress as anti-national in collusion with the US.
Okay, Sanjay, let them respond.
One minute, my last line. You are the deep state. You are the deep state because you actually were friends with Trump. You said upkeep our Trump.
Zainab first and then Rajiv. Zainab first and then Rajiv.
I already made this point.
Sanjay. Zainab first and then Rajiv. Zainab.
The point that you made is absolutely right. Okay, I agree with you 100%, and I may have vested interests. I agree to that also. But did President Trump not say in his first statement that I need to let the Indian government know that USAID sent $21 million to take Mr. Modi off of power? He also made that statement. So please tell me which one should I take correctly?
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
Please read, please see.
No, he said maybe they wanted.
No,
Sanjay,
he never said that.
He never said that.
Sanjay. Okay, hang on. Sanjay, let me say what he actually said. Let me come in. He actually said maybe they wanted to get somebody else elected without specifying who the they is.
Exactly. He never
without specifying. Okay.
No.
Let's take guys, others have to speak
on a responsible show. This is not Republic. This is not Republic.
I never appeared on Republic.
Okay, Sanjay and Zainab.
That's a compliment to you, yeah.
I know
I respect
it.
But you must understand, he clearly said that I need to let the Indian government know.
Can I come in? Can I come in? I'm sorry to interrupt Zainab and Sanjay. Let me exercise moderator's privilege here before I come to Rajiv. I think the facts are that Trump has tweaked his statement every day in the last 3 days. He started by talking about how this money was to be used for voter turnout. He then did say maybe they wanted to get somebody else elected but took no names. Let's be factual. He took no names. The next day, he called it a kickback scheme. And the third day, he has said, to my friend Prime Minister Modi. Now, these are the 3 Trump statements. Very factually, Rajiv, please respond. And I really need time for Ambassador Sinha and Suhasini. So please keep it brief. I like Sanjay and Zainab.
Barkha ji,
yes.
Sanjay ji is a different kind of person. He's cutting half sentence. He's saying, Humne Modi ji ko diya. At that time, I don't want to repeat myself. So that is not even worth discussing. That I have given, that personally, Donald Trump is asking money from everywhere. He cannot give 1 rupee to anybody without deal. So he will not give. He is talking about the deep state, which was existing in, as per opinion of Donald Trump, that the government under Biden, the deep state was doing all these kind of activities. We are not aware about that. As far as that, why we responded as a party and the government, because the American president is talking about the $21 million was given to the entities which were trying to do something, trying to affect the election process in India. What I'm trying to say, Barkha, so we responded that what has happened, and now Congress party is saying, so I personally, even I wish that government should investigate this matter, and at least even if this money is given to American entity who were trying to influence, because one line, In America, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Europe, there are a lot of entities who are very much interested in India, and they have pathological hatred for BJP and India. So they will work against that.
Okay. Now,
let them work. They will fail. We are a very mature democracy. Nobody can affect us.
Since we are arguing about what Trump exactly said, I'm going to replay the statement over which Zainab and Sanjay have argued.
Yes.
Let it be out there and let Ambassador Sinha and Suhasini respond to it after that. Take a look.
And $21 million for voter turnout in India. What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India? Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Well, we ought to tell the Indian government, because when we hear that Russia spent about $2 in our country, it was a big deal, right? They took some internet ads for $2,000. This is a total breakthrough. $21 million for India elections.
This was the first statement. I'll just come to Suhasini if I can. Suhasini, this was the first statement, and then came the reference to kickbacks, and now the third statement is about going to my friend Mr. Modi. And I think what Zainab is saying is, if the opposition is going to quote from one statement, they can't disown the other two, and basically Trump is playing us, and we're getting played. All three statements have a different emphasis. How should India respond given that this is the American president?
Well, the point is that Mr. Trump is saying essentially that USAID was spending a lot of frivolous money that America needs to cut down on. That is his basic point. After that, he's coming out and he's saying, we went to Mozambique and we're paying for transgenders here. And he's trying to belittle every bit of the money that USAID was putting. As far as we are concerned, that's not our problem. Whether the US gets into an MOU with us through USAID, or whether it is the Department of Health in the US which is dealing with India, we have to deal with a government. I mean, we can't go by what Mr. Trump or Mr. Musk is saying. Mr. Musk at one point said that USAID gave somebody $8 billion. It turned out to be $8 million. He was asked about it and he said, yeah, well, nobody's right 1,000% all the time. So I will make these mistakes, but I'm doing this great work. So point is, it's happening in their government. This is not something we need to respond to. Second, and this was a question, and now I'm really saying seriously, if we have to engage with this issue, this is a question I asked at the Ministry of External Affairs as well. If this is the case, if you believe USAID, what it was doing was deeply troubling, and are you also reviewing all India's MOUs with the USAID? $3 billion have come in over 25 years. 650 million of that have come out in the last 5 years. Are you going to review at least what has been done in the last few years? Just 6 months ago, in June 2024, I would urge you to go and read and see the photograph. The National Security Advisor of India, Mr. Doval, and the National Security Advisor of the US, Jake Sullivan, are overseeing an MOU signed by the USAID representative. The USAID representative is not just a part of the joint statement of ICET, the Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technologies. They were actually in the room. They were part of the MOUs that were signed after. So my question really is, are we really saying that all of this is now going to be cancelled? Second, and this is another question, I mean, maybe I'm just being, facetious here, but the real question, they're saying it was used for voter turnout. What part of increasing voter turnout or voter awareness is essentially an anti-national act? I don't know. I'm asking that question. Is there a problem? Because if you're saying we don't need outsiders to come in and pay for voter turnout in India, we also don't need them to come and pay for HPV vaccines. We don't need them to come and clean water. There are a lot of things that USAID put money into that essentially has not. And the final question I really do want to ask, Mr. Trump, even in today's morning statement, and if you would like to play that once again, he says it was going to. It doesn't say it went to. So until we know whether this money actually went, was it an obligation? Was it a disbursal? I mean, I find beyond a point what we are doing is getting involved in some other countries, tit for tat politics. Whereas
Yeah.
what we should be engaging with is what are the commitments the US government has made to us? Is it in a
Yeah.
position to keep those commitments? If it is not, is it a dependable partner? Should we be signing more agreements with them until we know what they are actually going to adhere to?
All valid questions. And since you've asked that we listen to Trump again today, let's do that. Because I found his statement quite confusing because the reference to India is going to, but the reference to Bangladesh has been given. Let's all hear it once again, and then Ambassador Sinha can respond. Take a look.
$21 million going to my friend, Prime Minister Modi in India, for voter turnout. We're giving 21 million for voter turnout in India. What about us? I want voter turnout too, Governor. $29 million to strengthen the political landscape in Bangladesh. Went to a firm that nobody ever heard of. Got 29 million. They got a check. Can you imagine you have a little firm, you get 10,000 here, 10,000 there. And then we get 29 million from the United States government. There are 2 people working in that firm. 2 people. I think they're very happy. They're very rich. They'll be on the cover of a very good business magazine pretty soon.
So if you listen to that carefully, India is present continuous, is going to, but Bangladesh is went. That now, whether Trump should be taken literally, I have no idea. Ambassador Sinha, Sanjay, give me a second. Let Ambassador Sinha speak. He's been waiting very patiently. I think some of the questions raised by Suhasini are very valid. USAID has suddenly become this hot potato for Trump. But India has been, or Indian entities have been taking money for different projects. I do agree that personally, as an Indian citizen, I would not like anything of our electoral process to receive external funding. And I do think there is a distinction between, polio vaccine receiving funding, that electoral process. But Suhasini is correct. Why do we need it? Even Trump says we have a lot of money, evidently. Why do we need any of it? Ambassador Sinha.
Well, this debate has been taking place in India for almost 30 years, maybe even longer. Do we need to take any aid at all? And I've often seen statements saying that we are going to stop all aid coming in. We don't need this aid. And I quite agree with Suhasini and you that we don't need this aid. And I hope that we use this opportunity to get down to this task of getting rid of all this aid, because this will inevitably lead to difficulties like this. In this particular case, with Trump's contradictory and half-baked statements, in any case, reacting to those makes no sense at all, and getting into a political slugfest here is even worse. But what we need to do is take this opportunity to then get down to stopping this aid coming in, because no matter whichever country gives aid, it treats India as a poor country where it's doing good work for a poor people. And if we have any kind of pride, then I think we should first stop this aid rather than start fighting over it thereafter. Where was this money spent? Obviously, America
I have one more question. On the aid, you say, let's just not take any of it. But on our response, both you and Suhasini have flagged different words in the MEA response. Once again, Rajivji, that you found problematic. At the moment, if you were in the MEA, what would you be saying to your counterparts in the Trump administration?
Well, if I were in MEA, I would like to know, I should be knowing what the US aid has been doing in India over the last years or so. I should be aware of that. I should not have to investigate to find out what activities the US aid is doing. Any foreign entity working in India is followed by our organizations, and we should know what MOUs we had signed and what activities were organized in that. I don't need to investigate any further, or especially talk about allegations being made, because these are open and above board organizations. They have the offices over here, they have activities over here, and many of these activities are organized in collaboration with the government of India. So why should I treat these as allegations?
Okay, so you have a problem with allegations. So Hasni says MEA should not have said deeply troubling. The MEA could have simply said this comment or this statement by the US president is being investigated, and that would have been the appropriate response. Sanjay Jha, then Rajiv, then Zainab, and we'll take last comments from Ambassador Sinha and Suhasini. Let's make it brief, please. Sanjay Jha, go ahead.
Yeah, Barkha, a quick comment. Firstly, I disagree with the ambassador. All emerging market economies struggle with, spending on multiple social, healthcare, etc. in projects. Aid is not a borrowing. You don't have to pay. You don't have an interest liability. So if you get aid, as long as you're not getting politically influenced, It makes pragmatic sense to use aid. There's nothing wrong with that, which is why Mr. Modi's government has been taking aid, as has the Congress government, as the Vajpayee government, as any other government. To give you an example, let me quote to you June 2023. USAID and the Modi government, by the way, with Mr. Modi presiding in the cabinet meeting. Let me read out to you this quote. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Modi, today signed an MOU between India and the USAID for the upliftment or the improvement of Indian railways. I'm not criticizing Mr. Modi for that. I am a big critic of Mr. Modi, but I believe, hang on, if you're going to improve Indian railways by getting very cheap funding, you should, because the beneficiary is going to be the common citizen of India.
We don't need dollars. Surely we don't need dollars to it. I'm not making a comment about national and anti-national, but do we need dollar money to influence voter turnout?
Well, no, I'm not talking about voter turnout. I'm making a bigger point on aid, principally. Number two, here is the big point, and this is the crux of the issue, Barkha. The elephant in the room is this. Don't ignore it. Why are we having a chat on a lovely Saturday evening?
Okay, there is the press statement you were reading out from on our screen, but go ahead. Yeah.
So here is my point. At 5 o'clock in the evening on a Saturday, if you and I are having this conversation, there's a reason behind it. What is the trigger? The BJP, a desperate party that will stoop to the lowest level to call its opponents in India as anti-national, has used this as an opportunity to accuse them and Rahul Gandhi. Today, the BJP needs to do two things. Number one, now that the MEA has stepped in, kindly tell us where has this money gone. And if they can't prove that the opposition is anti-national, Rahul Gandhi and the opposition should demand an apology and make a huge song and cry, go to the country as to how the BJP is basically embarrassing this country through lies, fake news, and conspiracy theories.
All right. Rajiv and then Zainab. Rajiv ji.
Sanjay ji is saying BJP is a desperate party. His ex-party or present party, I don't know. They don't have even 100 seats. So they are saying we are desperate. Let's not go into the political slugfest. But the issue is, I do not personally feel that aid is good or bad. But if aid is politically motivated, then it is very dangerous for that country. We have seen what has happened in the whole Gulf. What has happened wherever this, if it is politically motivated, I am only saying aid, there is nothing wrong. I completely, first time I agree with Sanjay ji that there is no problem with the aid. If it is coming, which you are not supposed to service the interest and you are not supposed to return. But the issue is, the question is today that in India, we all know that there is interference. Even China wants to do that. America wants to do that. They want to fix the government, which is in their, same wavelength. What has happened in Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, we have seen that what kind of involvement is there. I am only saying, if American president is saying time and again that we have paid $21 million to do something, to change the regime or whatever it is.
It should be investigated. I agree.
It should be investigated. And one more thing, Barkha, in this country, I have heard, I do not want to take the name, I have heard so many journalists interview. They are trying to, one person is saying, just, I think it will help you to understand, whose name is coming, that it is not 182 crore, because when it was given that time, dollar was only 70 rupees per dollar. So it is only 140 crore. That shows that there is something. And I'll tell you, Barkha ji, for this whole mess, I personally feel that journalists are also responsible for this. You cannot write anything. If investigation would have taken place in the case of military coup, if that journalist would have been investigated from where, which source is there, then today this journalist would have not taken this.
But
one second. Just a post on LinkedIn. Just 1 second, Barkha ji, please. Just a post on LinkedIn. If Rajiv Pandey, I work for government also, if I write something, on that basis, a journalist having a stature like Barkha Depti or Suhasini Hadarji can write an article. Is this the correct thing?
Okay. Since Indian Express is not represented on this panel, I think that is.
Indian Express. I'm talking about anybody.
Okay. All right. You say that journalists are also at fault, and I think a media debate needs fuller time and not in our closing comments, because there is media and then there is media, and let's come back on the focus of where we are. How should India respond to what Trump has said? And are our political parties walking into a trap set by him? Zainab, last comments?
Firstly, I would like Sanjay to take back his words that I said something fake on this debate. I did not. The first statement of Donald Trump was what I said it was. So,
So-
and the video proved it.
No, I disagree.
Oh my
At
God,
no
guys,
point-
it doesn't matter.
No, hang on,
It
hang
doesn't
on.
matter. It doesn't matter.
It's
We
again
know
a
what Trump
misquote.
said. It's forensically available videos. We don't have to fight over this.
No, 1 minute, but it does not say that Mr. Modi had to be removed. It does not
Oh,
say
dear.
that. You cannot
he
draw an
doesn't
So
say
he
anything.
wants a
Sorry.
change of
I'm
regime. Who is in power in India? So you're telling me that what he was trying to imply, we are not supposed to understand what's
No,
obvious.
it could be
I don't know how
2014
to-
election.
But
It
at
could be
least you can't.
2014 election. No, what do you mean?
I
It could be
No,
the
no.
2012 accusation that you made against the
he
Congress
was
party.
clearly
I'm
he was
sorry,
clearly
I
attacking
disagree with you.
Biden. He
You
was
are wrong.
clearly attacking
Okay.
Biden.
Misrepresenting.
You
I will
also
not
know
let this
this.
go. I'm
Okay, Sanjay.
registering my
sorry.
protest.
You have to,
Okay,
because
Okay,
you
okay,
said
Sanjay,
I'm
and
sorry.
Zainab,
I'm
come
sorry,
on.
Sanjay ji.
Guys, we can agree
We can't.
to disagree. You can take
We
this
can- yeah.
offline. We have played what Trump said. I think our audience
you.
can see it. Can we move on? Sanjay, come on, let it go now. Let her make her larger point. Zainab, come on. Zainab,
You
move
know,
on.
what I find more concerning is that, when Narendra Modi ji went to the US right now, they had a very important deal, the US-India Compact for the 21st century. After doing something so significant, the fact that, Trump has come back and now he's making these, irresponsible statements, it just shows that, we don't have to take things so seriously when they come out of Donald Trump's mouth. He has a history of saying things which make no sense. I mean, this is a man who has a mugshot of himself in the Oval Office. I mean, it's laughable in a way. I know he's a very important man. He presides as the president of one of the largest, most powerful countries in the world, but that's about it. I think it's the MEA who should take it forward, because at this moment both Congress and BJP are looking very foolish trying to defend his statements, which actually have no evidential backing.
Okay, so Hasni, can a country afford to ignore the American president,
No,
whatever his motivations may be?
I don't think we should ignore him. I just think, Barkha, one thing India always prides itself on, especially for the last 25 years, is having a bipartisan relationship with the United States. Bipartisan means that we have dealt with every government up till now, and they have dealt with every government up till now, even if they are across the political aisles. Yeah. By stepping into this controversy that is essentially Trump slagging off on his predecessors, we are jeopardizing that bipartisanship. And I think India needs to take a step back. And this time, I think the Ministry of External Affairs needs to take a step back and retain its position that it deals with whichever government is in power in the United States, regardless of what political leaning they are or who they are, and expects them to deal with us in exactly the same way. If there is something that has happened that is illegal, then our government should be able to process it and to investigate it. But in this case, to fall into, as you would put it, a kind of political trap placed in one country between two political parties, one of which we might have to deal with again in the future, I don't think is helping India's cause, and I think that should be paramount.
Ambassador Sinha, last word to you. Yes, Rajiv ji, you had a sentence. Please, if you could make it only a sentence, because I have to close.
I have a 6 p.m. show. If you
okay,
can I leave?
Okay, I'll say thank you. Yes, thank you, Rajiv ji. I'm just closing in any case. Thank you so much, Rajiv ji. Ambassador Sinha, last word to you. Thanks, Rajiv ji. Yeah.
Well, I just like to conclude by saying that, look, America is indulging in mudslinging internally. Trump is. Now, there's no reason for us to get involved either in that mudslinging or to start our own mudslinging here in our country. On the question of aid, I'd like to mention that aid is always politically motivated. And India, as a country that is now a fairly well-developed country, it's not a totally developed country, but certainly is a much better economy than the poor countries in the world, we should not be eating into the aid that should go to the really poor countries by taking away aid ourselves. We can attract foreign investment at any time in any quantity. Aid is always in very small quantities, and aid is always controversial. So if we put an end to this aid, it will be much better for our relations with other countries and for our own self-esteem.
Well, that's certainly something to chew on. In the present circumstance, there are many more questions than answers, and I think we should be asking the right questions and not get swept away by the rhetoric of Donald Trump, even though he is who he is. We've got to look out for our own interests and be proud, I would hope, of our own democracy. Thank you very much, Suhasini Haidar, Sanjay Jha, Zainab Sikandar, earlier to Rajiv Pandey and Ambassador Sinha. Thank you. See you soon. Have a great weekend.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.